And she's a and Deborah is a branding expert. So she's going to talk about developing a long-lasting brand, which, as we know, that really helps in job search and just careers in general. So Deborah's got a really great background. She's an author. She wrote a book called Help to Hire. And she's a resume writer and a career coach, LinkedIn content creator. And she's just a really fine person, and we're excited to hear from her. And so go ahead, Deborah, and take it
Thank
away.
you. I'm going to share my screen so I can talk to you all. There we go. Hopefully everybody can see that in presentation mode. Excellent. Good morning. Thank you very much for having me. My name is Debra Wheatman, and I am the founder and president of Careers Done Right. We are a marketing and branding company that focuses on helping individuals brand themselves for their career aspirations, not where they're coming from, but where they're going to. So with an eye towards the future of where they see themselves, where they want to be, where they're going to go. And today I'm going to be speaking with you about your brand, how to develop it, and how to move it forward, especially in times like now where we're seeing a lot of changes in the landscape of how people apply for positions, how they land positions. And of course, I know that this is a networking group and the importance of networking to facilitate those efforts on your own behalf. This is my image, and you see this image of me wherever I am present. So that could be on LinkedIn, which it is. That is on Twitter, but less so for a number of reasons. It is on Instagram. Also, I spend most of my time on LinkedIn, and probably, as you all know, you're probably spending time on, or the majority of your time, I should say, on one of the platforms. You're likely not dividing your time in these big chunks on a lot of the different platforms because there's just not a lot of time to do so. I have found that LinkedIn for professionals, most people spend a lot of time there. It is the biggest platform. It has the most users, followed by Instagram for product. People who have products that they're selling or promoting, a lot of them spend their time on Instagram because of the imagery you can use. And of course, people are using TikTok. However, that's coming to a close, I believe, here shortly. And I have to say, I'm not unhappy about it. So my image that you see here, and I bring this up because you should have a consistent image on your social sites. So everywhere you are seen, your image should be carried over to all of them. It is important because then you're establishing through visuals, you're establishing your brand or starting to establish your brand. I'm going to take questions at the end also. So if you wouldn't mind holding them for the end, I will address them. Branding is serious business, as you likely already know. Why? Because your brand is the thing that you want people to know and think about you when you leave the room, after they've spent time with you. It is the impression, the indelible impression that you're leaving with them, so that when they speak about you, they have things to say that support that brand. People do it in their personal life, they do it in their professional life. It is a huge business for the very reason I just stated. You are giving people information that you want them to hold on to. You want to attract them, and you want to have them retain that information about you, not just so that they can remember you for these things, but also so they share that with other people. And especially as part of your job search or your career planning, building your brand is a must. Because if you don't leave an impression, that's also a message. If somebody doesn't know you for something, you're also telling them something about yourself. Being memorable, creating an anchor between you and the other person or a broader audience is important. It helps facilitate your brand, and it helps grow it over time. You're going to be working this every day. A lot of times people ask me a question about building their brand. Your brand is portable. It is not something, it's not a set it and forget it. This is not your slow cooker in your kitchen. You have changed, all of you, all of us change every day, all day long. We learn new things. We engage with new people. We engage in new processes. We do different things. Those things inform our brand. It's important because as you grow as a person, as you grow as a professional, you're going to incorporate these new ideas, these new themes into your brand that further your, if they further your efforts. It is not something where you're just going to say, this is my brand, this is what it is, and this is what I am. It can't stay that way. If it does, you're stagnating, and that's not good for you. And I know that all of you, without knowing you, I know that you're all unbelievably special, interesting, unique, and have a tremendous amount to offer, not just to the people that you interact with on a daily basis, but to the broader community, whether that is your professional community, your personal community, or a combination thereof. Your brand is the thing that anchors you to those people and to the places where you work, the places you frequent. Think about the coffee shop maybe you go into every day. You get to know the people that are there. They have an impression of you. That's also part of your brand. What is it? It's your story. It's the story of you. It should invoke feelings of trust, engagement, value. It should portray you as a leader, as someone who inspires other people, as someone who is looking to grow and learn and establish expectations of who you are and what you want the broader community to think of you. Consider for a minute, and you might have all seen this. I mean, I don't know anybody who hasn't seen it actually. Consider it was on, I think, TikTok. It was everywhere, to be honest. There was a woman who went into I think it was a Chipotle, and she placed an order. Does anybody know about this? She placed an order. Yes, I see you nodding. I don't know, she had some sort of hissy fit that she threw, and she threw a bowl of food at the woman waiting on her. Okay, needless to say, this is not the appropriate behavior to exhibit. It went viral, this thing, and it, of course, went to court because you can't assault people with food or anything else just because you're unhappy with the order placed. And this is now part of her brand. Her face is everywhere. People know who she is. They know what her behavior is. And it's easy today to film things, have yourself recorded, and have other people then see the type of brand you are building for yourself. Not good. I generally encourage people to, and I hate to actually say this a little bit, but it is true. Act as if you are being videotaped. Speak as if you are being recorded. And in today's world, you need to exhibit behaviors that are not just good for your brand, but that also set you up for success. We know about good brands. We know, you know these companies, Nike, Coca-Cola. You can probably tell me 5 or more things about each of them. The logos that you see here are attractive to people. They express things about those brands. People want to make their brand for themselves as effective or more so than these companies, or even people. Like, if you think of good branding, you might think of Richard Branson. You might think of Oprah Winfrey. Whether you like these people or not is not the point. The point is that you know things about them. They are exercises in good branding because they have built a brand that is lasting. They have built a brand that is enduring. They have built a brand that other people know about. Think about the things that you want people to know you for. And I generally encourage people to keep good notes. If you are a good note taker, whether you write it down old school or you do it on the computer, if you write things down about yourself and you get information from from the broader community of people who know you, you will be able to incorporate not just what you know about yourself into your brand, but you'll also be able to incorporate what other people know about you. Why is that important? It is important because it provides you with a well-rounded view of who you are. Everybody has gaps, just like we all have strengths. You want to determine what you're good at. In what areas do you excel? What do you love doing? What do people see in you? What do they say about you? What don't you like? Because that's also a way to inform your brand. It gives you a window into things that you perhaps want to stay away from, or maybe things that you want to look at as part of improving so that you can continue to build your brand and continue to build capacity with a broader audience. The people that you speak with, that you interact with on a day-to-day basis, or even beyond, their input is critical to understand how the broader world sees you, and that will help define your brand and put you in an amazing place to facilitate your branding activities and develop that over time. And again, as you grow, turn you into this well-rounded person who understands not just who they are, but how they can contribute in new environments, in new situations, with new people. I definitely suggest getting active on LinkedIn, even though I will be honest with you, I am not a huge fan of LinkedIn. And you might be wondering why. I will tell you why. I find that there are a lot of things on LinkedIn that I don't believe belong on there. No one's asking me my opinion on this, but I'm just putting it out there anyway, and it's fine. LinkedIn is what it is. You can't ignore it. There are millions and millions of people globally on LinkedIn, more now than 20 million companies that are posting positions, they're posting content, they're posting ideas. 90% of recruiters use LinkedIn. What I don't like about it is that there's a lot of virtue signaling on there. For example, people who show someone in a hospital bed hooked up to these machines, and they're like, oh, isn't it fabulous? I work for Philips, and look, my father has XYZ disease, but yay, because Philips. So thank you. Love to Philips. Those things I don't think are appropriate on LinkedIn. Or similarly, the woman who wrote a missive about her cheating husband on LinkedIn. These things are personal in nature. I, as a person, am very private. And so I appreciate the fact that some other people maybe feel they think it's okay to air all of their ideas, dirty laundry, what have you, on LinkedIn. But it goes back to branding. Is this what you want to be known for? The initial intention of LinkedIn was to serve as a platform for business building, for networking, for connecting. In my opinion, again, my opinions are my own, it has become more like Facebook in that people are sharing things like, look at the deal I got at the supermarket this morning. I just don't feel like it's the right environment anymore. You have to cut through a lot of the noise. Can you do this?
Okay,
Yes, you can. I am an advocate of posting things that are business oriented related to your brand. You might want to share with people articles or ideas you've come up with to get input from the broader community. You might want to comment on other people's posts that are close to something you're doing professionally or something you're looking to build as part of your brand. For that, I find it very useful. You just have to cut through a lot of the noise to get there, because it has become a place where people are just out there sharing their ideas on everything, to their favorite sports team, to who they want to win the next election. We need to sort of, I think, get back to basics there a little bit and focus more on the intent of what LinkedIn is, a social networking site. When you connect with people, again, back to your brand, are you just saying, hi, I'd like to connect? Or are you sending them a message that says, I've taken a look at your profile. It looks like there are very interesting things on there, namely this particular thing. I am also involved in this, and I am wondering if you are interested in meeting for a virtual coffee. Will you get engagement from that? Yes. Will everybody engage? No, they will not. It is like standing in front of a billboard in Times Square and thinking that one is going to attract and maintain your attention. You will get things, but it does take time and it does take work. If you are getting active on LinkedIn, not having one is just as bad. It is not having anything at all. Why? Because that's where people go. They go and they look you up. The first thing they do is they go and they see what is on there about you, what you're posting about, the engagement you have. If you're on LinkedIn, you should not be copying and pasting your resume into your LinkedIn profile. You should be using those tools to inform your LinkedIn. What do I mean by that? Well, you have your resume and it has all of this amazing information about you. It has not just where you're going to based upon the summary at the top, maybe your core competencies and information that leads people to understand what you're going to be doing, but it of course also has your history. Your LinkedIn, people are scanning this. They're not spending an inordinate amount of time on your LinkedIn profile. They're not scrolling and they're not clicking. They're scanning. What does that mean? That means the content that you put there needs to be curated and curated in a way that is targeted, telling people in a different way who you are. I like to write LinkedIn profiles in the first person because I think it's more engaging. Using I have done this, I am engaged in this, I am looking for connections in the following, and giving them a call to action. If you would like to speak with me, please feel free to contact me on LinkedIn. Use it to your advantage. This is an example for you so you can see what I'm talking about. I love to dig into customer problems. I'm not going to read this to you because you can read it yourself. And I'm also happy to share a copy of the presentation for anybody who is interested afterward. If you'd like me to send that to you, feel free to contact me on LinkedIn and I will share a PDF of it. This person talks about what he can do, a problem solver, and he talks about himself on LinkedIn. That's what I like about it. It's crisp. He has bullet points. He talks about his skills and his domain knowledge. I think this is an excellent example of a LinkedIn profile, although I will say I do think his about is a little bit long. I would probably recommend, if I were writing it, something a little bit shorter, but overall he delivers a good message. You're not going to just limit yourself, of course, to LinkedIn. As I said, most people do spend the majority of their time on one platform. However, there are other platforms, and depending upon what you do, how much time you have, and where you want to present your content and your ideas, you can go to other places. You can do this on Facebook. You can also cross-post. For example, if you post on LinkedIn and you also have a presence on Facebook and Instagram, you can cross-post to these other platforms very easily so that your information is shared and you don't have extra lifting to do. I, in fact, do that. I cross-post to Facebook and I cross-post to Instagram. I am not on X or Twitter. I was for many, many years. And my account was hacked and I sort of was like, okay, I'm done with this. I can't be bothered. So I don't really have a presence there anymore. I also find there's a lot, I think Twitter is a very toxic place. So I'm glad to not be on there any longer. When you post, make sure you're demonstrating good presence, professional appearance in your posts, and your information is something that you want to share with the broader community to inform, engage. And I'm all about, I want to say loosely, a good argument, if you will. And what I mean by that is not to get into an argument with other people, but there's nothing wrong with stirring up a dialogue that, sort of engages in discussion where people don't agree. you're not going to find that everybody agrees with everything you say, and that's okay, as long as it's constructive. A lot of things do not add to your brand. I talk about the grandma rule. These are things that I would not want my grandma to see or read. And those things are as follows. Anything about arguments about, sexual orientation, politics, sometimes sports, and religion. You are not changing anybody's mind about these things. All you are doing is getting into an argument where there's 15 minutes of time you will never see again. That's what you're doing on these platforms. And worse, you're establishing a brand that is unattractive by engaging in dialogue whereby it's combative. And those topics definitely can be combative. When others think of you, what do you want them to take away from that engagement? What do you want them to think? What do you want them to feel? Do you want them to feel that you're someone that they want to engage with? Let's think back for a second to Coke and to Nike. I'm going to date myself a little bit. I don't know how many of you remember, but Coca-Cola used to do an amazing commercial where people would come together on a hill and they would sing, and they had a big group of people. They were all engaged. It looked like a big happy family. Coke wants you to think about joy. They want you to think about engagement. They want you to think about coming together for experiences that inspire and bring people together in a way that shows support and love. And that has been their thing since that commercial. It still is. When you see those commercials, when you read about Coke, it shows these things. It shows people coming together. When you think of Nike, you think of just do it. I can overcome. I can persevere. I can show the strength I have in myself to do that extra mile, to climb Mount Kilimanjaro, or surpass the things that I think about myself. That's their brand. The brand showcases who they are. And for you, it's going to showcase who you are. It's going to address the question of what am I today and where am I going tomorrow? Where do I want to be? Your brand is your unique value proposition. I talk about this a lot, your UVP. Your UVP is the thing that sets you apart. When you do an exercise of writing your LinkedIn or writing your resume or writing your bio or writing your cover letter, you should come at it from the perspective of what is my UVP? What is my unique value proposition? So how do you do this? You start brainstorming, and back to what I said earlier, not only do you come to your computer or your pad and paper with ideas of who you think you are, but you also take ideas from other people, your friends, your peers, your supervisors, your subordinates, the people you come in contact with every day. You should be using the information you get from them to also inform how you write this, because your brand is broader than just what you think of yourself. It also incorporates what other people think and feel about you. Once you do that, you will be able to curate a wonderful UVP that not only incorporates the professional elements that you have about yourself, but it will also be incorporating the personal elements to come together. The ingredients will come together to inform that amazing cake that you are now baking about yourself. Who is your audience? My target audience are executives and rising executives, people who understand the value of brand building and why they need a brand that helps set them apart from other people so they can pursue new and exciting opportunities in a way that is unique and assertive to get where they want to be in their next role in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years, whatever it is that they're looking for. When I do this, I speak with people to help them understand who's your target, who's your audience, what types of environments do you see yourself making a contribution in? What problems are these companies trying to solve? How can you help solve their problems? This exploration not only helps to inform their brand building, but it also helps to establish a pathway by which people can target their search. So, for example, if you say, I really want to do something in my next role that has more purpose, that's giving back to either the environment or society or people or something of that nature, you're going to curate a list of organizations or companies that have that focus. Why is that important? It's important so you don't waste your time doing things that don't add value. Time is fleeting, as we all know. It's also in short supply. And you want to ensure that the time you're spending are in areas and doing things that support your efforts. That's why writing things down, understanding what your brand is and what you want to bring to a new opportunity is so important. It allows you to become laser focused on what your goals are and how you are going to develop your brand to get you there. Knowing your audience is a critical component to brand building because it informs what you then say about yourself and how you are then going to position yourself for what other people are going to say about you. Research. I am a huge researcher. I can't tell you how valuable doing research is. It is critical for just about everything. Learning about the market that you're operating, in which you're operating, learning about the players in your market, and using other people as inspiration, not to copy, because that's cheating. We're not cheating. We're just using it as inspiration to say, oh, I didn't think of this about myself, but I also have this, and I might want to incorporate some of these themes into my narrative of how I see myself and how other people see me as well. Your brand is portable, and I did mention that. You're going to get it round enough to roll. There is no such thing as perfection. As you grow, as you change, as things interest you or not, you are going to massage your brand and change it so that you can position yourself for other things. And when I say change it, I don't mean you're going to write something up and boom, there it is. I mean, you're going to incorporate these ideas into the things that you share with the community you're targeting. I am a big believer in testing the waters and checking with people. What do you think of this? How does this resonate with you? Think about how it resonates with yourself as a means to evolving and growing as a person and creating or starting to create a brand that you want to share with the rest of the world that you're going to do through your posting, in your resume, in your conversations, in your networking engagement, whether you're doing that online or you're doing that in person or through some other method. Informational interviews. I love informational interviews as a way to learn. It is part of your research process. It's a great way to build a roadmap, advance your knowledge of other people, their companies, what they're doing, and it does help build your brand because the more you know, the more you can incorporate these ideas or things that you're learning into your brand. Think about asking people when you network with them and when you go on these informational interviews, how did you get your start? What do you love about being here? What don't you love? What are some of the things you have learned over the course of your career? Everybody should be doing this. It doesn't matter how junior or mid-level or senior you are. Informational interviews is another way of networking. And because we are in an environment and in a time where looking for opportunities is just so painstaking, take my advice, I'm not using it. You need to be patient because it does take a long time. These companies are interviewing people 7, 8, 10 times. Nobody wants to be doing this. But if you are engaged in networking and conducting informational interviews, I can assure you, if you stay in touch with people and you build a brand that is lasting, it will really help your efforts versus going out there cold and just applying to jobs online, which the more senior you are, just does not work. It doesn't work. The things that you see on LinkedIn, they may or may not be real jobs. And it's very, very challenging. The best way to identify and pursue opportunities is through your network. And if you have a brand that is aligned with the people with whom you're speaking, it will be a lot easier for you. Creating your elevator pitch. This is your UVP. And while I'm not going to have you create your UVP right now, think about doing this perhaps after this presentation, or at some point, maybe over the weekend, just to get your feet wet and focus on the things that you want to share with people and how you want your audience to feel once you're not in front of them any longer. That is the best way to start to build your brand, and there's no wrong time to do this. Again, it is portable. It does change. So there is nothing quote unquote wrong. Just get started. The faster you get started, the more you will be able to engage not just with the world around you, but internally with yourself, so that you can create your brand or your pitch, if you will, your UVP, that further informs your brand story. Networking is the #1 tool for your brand, because the more you network, the more people know who you are, the better capacity you have to be able to reach out to them. Consider for a minute, and a lot of people do this, they start a new role or they're in their job for a number of years, they've moved up steadily, they're doing very well, and either they decide at some point that they want to start a job search, let's just say, or they are no longer in their role for reasons that have nothing to do with them. So those are the scenarios. You leave on your own, or something is done where it's done to you. And some people are completely blindsided by this, of course. If you have a network that you have been building and cultivating over time, it will not be awkward for you to reach out to these people. They'll be expecting to hear from you because you've had engagement with them this entire time, versus reaching out to someone you haven't spoken to in 5 years to ask them for something. That is decidedly not an enviable position, because it's awkward. You're just reaching out now to talk to them. It's because you need something, versus having a network that you've cultivated and built up over time, where people appreciate your engagement, they understand your brand, and they're now willing to help you in your time of need. Best practices, it's not all about you. And a lot of people connect to me on LinkedIn, which is great. What I don't love is when they just use the, "Hi, I want to connect with you." That's lazy, #1. Write a nice note. That's totally lazy. How hard is it for you to say, "Hi, Deb, I've noticed your profile. I see that you do these things. I also work in this particular space. I would love to schedule some time, or I would love to just connect with you so that we can learn from each other." That is a much more compelling message than, "Please connect with me." No, thanks. Don't just make it about you. When you reach out to people, offer them something. People often say to me, "How can I help you?" You know what? I don't know. I don't know how you can help me. And in fact, you're putting the onus on me to tell you how to help me, which I don't like. I am already working 87 hours a day. I don't want to do any more work than the work that I'm doing. If you really want to help me, do some research and figure out, is there an article? Is there something that you saw, maybe a link that you want to share with me? I appreciate that much, much more than you saying, "How can I help you?" Because I will tell you 100% of the time, I'm going to say, I don't know. Be proactive in your networking efforts. Reach out to people. Again, you're not going to hear from everyone, and that's okay. But you will hear from some people, and those are the people that are going to add the most value to your network, to your brand, and it becomes a symbiotic relationship because you can add value to them, they can add value to you, and together you can build each other up. Referrals, as we all know, are the way that jobs are secured today for the most part. Can you look online? Absolutely, you can look online. I have a couple of key things that I share with people that are looking online. You should not apply through LinkedIn. There's no such thing as easy apply. That doesn't exist. The number that you see at the top of LinkedIn where it says 575 applications, that's not the number of applications. That's the number of people who looked at the job on LinkedIn. Once you leave LinkedIn, they have no idea who's applied or who's just doing a drive-by. So they have no idea. You see a number there, but that's not a real number. The idea for applications is early and fast. If you see a job pop up, you literally have, I'm going to say at the outset, 48 hours to get your stuff in. And I mean your resume that is tailored for the role and a cover letter for that position. Even better if you can target your network and speak to someone and get in through a person. Okay, because thank you. Yes, to the claps. Thank you. Because if you don't, you're just going to be in a sea of people, some of whom have no business applying. And they're just like, oh, this is paying, 87 figures, so I can do it. I can't tell you the number of people who say to me when I speak to them, I can do anything. No, you can't. You can't do anything. There are things you can do and things that you can do exceptionally well. To say that you can do anything just isn't true. Don't take other people's word for it. Make it work for you. Testimonials, and I don't mean checking a box. I mean getting references on LinkedIn. If you go to my LinkedIn profile, you'll see I have a lot of people who have written about working with me. If you look at two different people on LinkedIn and you're considering doing business and you see one that has a well-built profile and you see one that doesn't, you see one that has 50 recommendations and you see one that has 2, what are you going to do? It takes time to write recommendations for people. It takes time for people to think about what they want to say. If you see a LinkedIn profile that has a lot of recommendations, generally speaking, it's because people have enjoyed working with that person and they endorse the work that they have done. So it serves as a barometer of that person's brand. Use analytics sparingly. And the reason why I say that is because you can try to figure out the algorithm on LinkedIn. If I had figured it out, believe me, I am not selfish. I would have shared it with everyone. It is virtually impossible to do this. You can do it through Google and other things, but to say, I've had people say, well, I know how the algorithm works. No, you don't. You know why I know you don't? Because they change it like every other second. That's why you don't know. That's why nobody knows. You can use other analytics to help give you an idea or a window, but to say that you've pinpointed, absolutely not. It's just not possible. Engage with your content. The more you engage, and I don't know about you guys, I'll just ask this. I see things, so I think, and maybe I'm wrong, I post things that I think help job seekers or people pursuing work, helping them understand how to network. And I'll get, oh, I don't know, 30 likes, no reposts, whatever. And then someone will show a picture of a horse and it's 500 reposts, 500,000 likes. What am I doing wrong? Anyone help me understand. You see a picture of a horse. Is that helping you with your plan? Not really. I don't get it. And I don't get it. Show the person behind the brand. I did mention earlier, I'm very, very private as a person. However, there is a reason to sometimes show a little bit or take down the curtain, if you will. People like to know a little bit about the people with whom they're doing business. And having a little bit more of a personal interaction can sometimes work for you. In this particular case, I did work for a woman who the company that she was interviewing with wanted her to relocate from San Diego to Minneapolis. So you're going from this unbelievable, beautiful weather, 365 days a year, it rains once, to I cannot leave my house because there's 8,700 feet of snow and every building is connected by a long hallway. That's what they wanted her to do. She actually wound up going, but one of the things that I helped her with was, as part of her brand, was not just negotiating her salary, a sign-on bonus, and another bonus kicker at the end, but also her move. They didn't want to give her anything, and I'm like, girl, if they want you, you need to level up. It was crazy. I'm like, you should not be going for any of what they're offering. And they came to the table. They gave her everything. They moved her. They gave her money up front. They gave her more on her salary and they increased her bonus. So they gave her everything that she asked for, that she wasn't going to ask for. And as a result, we became friendly or friendlier. And yes, and as a result, we started talking about more personal things. I'm a huge makeup fan. And she sent me a gift card to Sephora, which I thought was super, super sweet. And I wound up posting about it more as a personal thing. I also have been known to post about my children. I'm very proud of all of them. They are all very successful, and I've posted about their graduations and things like that, which again, I think just shows a little bit more about me personally without giving away the store. You don't want to go crazy with it. Everything you do or say on these platforms, people can find a problem with. And believe me, there are plenty of things that people put on my feed, and I'm just like, talk to the hand. I'm not even interesting. I'm not commenting. I don't care. You have your opinion. That's fine for you. I have mine. We can agree to disagree. We can still be friends. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'm not getting into it. I don't care enough to get into it. And I'm not going to get into an argument. As I said, this is 15 minutes of time, not a fame you will never see again. Your brand is a long-term commitment, if nothing else. It takes time. It takes time to build it over time. You will build this over years. And as you do, it will change. As you stay in touch with your network, you're going to focus on the results and focus on the things that you really want people to understand just how awesome you are. I find that people generally, by and large, they are their own worst enemy. They are mean to themselves. And I'll be the first to admit, I'm mean to myself all day, every day. Find some love internally. You're all amazing. You're all awesome. You all have so much value to share. Find in yourself what you really love about yourselves, write it down, and incorporate it into your brand. Be nice to yourselves. This is an example, just a little bit of engagement, so you can see what I'm talking about when I say engage. Talk to people online, write something, and don't use ChatGPT to do it. It's hilarious. I post things and sorry, two dogs. I post things and I see people will write things and it's the same thing. Really? You can't come up with a one-liner on your own without using Bard or ChatGPT? How lazy is that? Like, why? That's a bad branding situation for you. And it's hilarious because one person will post something, the next thing down, it's the exact same thing. Are you kidding right now? You know what? I'd rather you not say anything then, if that's the best you can do. You guys, it has been a pleasure. Let's see where we are in time. Oh, I have 10 minutes for questions. I did it. My name is Debra Wheatman. It has been a pleasure speaking with you this morning. I hope you got value out of this. As I said, if you do want to connect with me on LinkedIn, I would love to connect with all of you. I am happy to answer questions, and I'm happy to share the presentation with you if you'd like to have a copy of it.
Debra, we thank you so much. And we will, if you want to send the your presentation to Tina,
Sure.
she will share that with
Yep.
everyone.
I'm going to
That would
stop
be
sharing my
great.
screen now. Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
are there questions? If you want to just raise your hand, we'll reach out, or just unmute yourself and ask. What a great, I mean, everything you said, I resonated with so much. I mean, and it is what we talk about in boot camp, right? The importance of networking and how we network is equally as important as getting out there and doing it. So, questions, anybody?
We have a couple hands raised. Ellen?
Debra, number one, thank you for doing this. This is a great, great presentation. And you can tell, number one, you're passionate about this. And number two, you really get it. My question for you is really around audience and your brand. You know, we talk a lot about professionalism, and each of those platforms that you referenced have a different purpose, and they also have different audiences. And most common, you know, the word I think you used was cross posting.
Mhm.
How do you take a post that is really truly a career development post on LinkedIn going to a professional audience and take that same post and put it on your Facebook page that your grandma, your cousins, your aunts, uncles, neighbors are going to see? Those are two slightly different audiences because of the platform. So I'm just curious on
Yes.
how you delineate between those two.
They are slightly different, but there are some crossover in both because Facebook does have some elements of it that are more professional in nature, right? So not everything is going to be right for both platforms for sure. But there is a fair amount, at least for the things that I do, that would be applicable to both audiences and are applicable to both audiences. And depending upon your business and what you do, you're absolutely right. There are going to be some things that won't be appropriate for that audience. So you'll have to determine that and curate your content as you see fit to either share across or decide that you're just going to post this on this platform for this particular situation.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Questions?
Wendy, next.
Oh, hi. Thank you so much. It was a great talk.
Mm-hmm.
And I admire your presentation skills.
Thank you.
So I'll be mimicking some of that.
Absolutely. Imitation, the sincerest form of flattery. Go ahead.
But my question is all about the idea that we need to know our audience, and I tend not to want to limit my audience. So, for example, right now I'm doing a lot of work with the affordable housing and, you know, in the real estate genre. I come out of cosmetics. Truly, it's about the quality of work that I want to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I truly am industry agnostic, like if you speak with me, but online, I'm not sure how to handle that. Like, I don't ever feel comfortable limiting my audience. So can you talk to that a little bit?
Sure. And I don't want to use the word limiting because I think that's limiting.
Yeah.
It's not that you're
Okay.
limiting your audience. You're just creating, you're curating, which is not the same thing. You're curating. And the reason why it's important that you do it is because you're not limiting your audience. But you do have different messages. Your entire audience is this, let's just say, right? But there's a subset maybe that you just want to share this particular information with. So it's not that you're limiting, you're just curating so that you can focus on or pay attention to a certain subset of your audience, which is not the same thing because not all of your content likely is relevant for the entire audience. Does that make sense?
Yeah, could I ask a kind of like a follow-up question?
Of course.
I get it makes sense, like I can easily translate that to a post or an article I might write or something like that, or even reaching out to somebody directly. But when it comes to my profile or my website and I'm talking about who I serve or what, you know, what that's where I struggle with it a little bit more. The more, the more stationary information.
I understand. You know, there's a couple of things. Look, the platform is not perfect, right? And you can't be, I mean, you can, but I think I would lose my mind if every day I was on there trying to fix my thing to figure out, oh, well, who's today's, flavor du jour? Like, you can't do that. So you have to create something that attracts people. And I will say that that's a limitation of the platform, but also it's really important. You can't be everything to everyone. And if you try to do that, you'll be nothing to any of them. So you sort of have to integrate these ideas and themes with the understanding that your audience isn't everyone. And you need to really you need to sort of like think about and curate it for the biggest parts of your audience, I guess, because you're not going to get everyone. Despite what you're saying, and I understand you don't want to limit yourself, but in trying not to limit yourself, you're actually doing your brand a disservice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do understand that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, Dan.
Well, Deborah, thank you. It was a wonderful presentation. I've been in the security industry for 24 years, and I finally ran across a guy who has a brand, and on LinkedIn, it's Benji Bullock, the Door Dork. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, it sounds funny, but what this guy posts on LinkedIn is he shows you all the business doors that are wrong, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he asks for comments.
Right.
And I'm so impressed with that. And I'm like, okay, I've been in security. I've got a pretty good network on LinkedIn. I got to figure out what would my brand be. And
Right.
I can't be the security dork. I don't want to say that, but I may follow up with you to try and get some guidance on that. Okay.
Sure. Yeah, that's a great thing he did, right? Because everybody knows him for this.
Oh yeah. And he's a
It's-
wonderful
It's
guy.
brilliant.
I just saw him 2 weeks ago at the largest security trade show in Las Vegas. It's called ISC West.
Yeah.
And I always look for him.
Are you going to RSA?
What's that?
RSA.
I've been to RSA.
It's coming up
times.
next week,
Well, I used to be in cybersecurity and I used to go to RSA quite a bit, but that's all changed now.
Right.
So,
Gotcha. Yeah.
You know,
It's next week in California, San Francisco, RSA.
right. Is that where you're based?
No, I'm right now I'm in Florida, but I'm New York is generally where I am.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Probably have time for one more question real quick.
Yeah, let's see if we can get Amy's question answered.
Hi, Deborah.
Hi.
Great to see you.
Thank you.
Hold my hand. I've been working with Deborah for probably a couple of years now, so I want to tell everybody that's on here, thank you for having her. It's great to see you.
Same, thank you.
Yes, and I learned even more today. Our performance review season is coming up. So to kind of focus on my brand is something that will help me in that role. And, I want you to know as well that others around me have noticed the work I've been doing on my brand and pulling things together. So, and it's just little things you can do. And I thought of you, and I just kind of wanted to piggyback on with the questions about using different platforms for different audiences. And, we recently had an estate sale, my family and I did. And so obviously the Facebook where it's all our friends from the neighborhood and all that jazz, sure, post the things in a different way. I also pulled in a few tools that I have here with Canva and graphics and things. And then on LinkedIn, I thought of you, Deborah. I said, I'm not posting all, but how can I make this relevant and stay true to my brand? And I literally wrote this down today as you were talking. I crafted that post around, hey, everyone, I know a lot of you have side hustles. And these may be, or you may collect something, or this may be part of what makes you tick. I want to share this information with you. And then I wrote down today, because guess what? Helping other people succeed is part of my brand. And so there is a way to do it, a little more of a comment. But I had to put that shout out for you.
Thank you,
And
Amy.
yes.
I will say for everybody who's listening and still on this, I have been working with Amy for a couple of years now, and she is an exceptional case study in good branding. She really is. So yeah, she not only listens and follows instructions, but she actually puts it into practice. So Amy, bravo to you.
Well, and what a great way to end with such a great recommendation from someone who has worked with you, Deborah. I'm sure all of us would love to work with you and could gain so much information and knowledge. Thank you all for joining us. Deborah, thank you for a fabulous
you.
presentation. We would love to have you come back again and share with us. And I know we all gained valuable insights on what we need to be doing on our branding. So to all of you, have a very happy weekend. Again, thank you for participating with us. We love seeing all of you. Thanks again. To all, have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
everyone.